What do you see with this Iowa State defensive front? Looks like statistically one of the best you faced this year.
Yeah, definitely going to be the best we face this year. I know I said it last time I was on media about 2 weeks ago about USC's defense, but this defense is as talented as you'll see, especially from a front seven standpoint. And that they're really disciplined with what they do within their defensive scheme. So not only do they have great athletes and great players, but they play to their scheme really well. So it's gonna be a tough challenge for us, but I'm excited for it.
We'll stay with Eric.
Alex, I wonder, with you guys facing a USC front and now facing Iowa State, maybe compare and contrast. Obviously a lot of talent on both, but what does Iowa State do differently that maybe USC didn't do?
I mean, just they are similar in a lot of ways with the physicality of their defense and what they pride themselves on, which is something that I think we're pretty similar in terms of our programs are similar to each other. But I think they just present different challenges with different stunts and blitzes they do because they do different than a lot of teams we've seen. They have a different structure than a lot of teams we've seen. So they definitely present a lot of challenges, but I'm excited to face those challenges.
Eric, did you have another follow-up?
Sure, I'll keep asking questions. Alex, I know you're close with Tyler. I know he's had a couple down games. I guess paint a picture for how he's handling that behind the scenes and kind of where his head's at right now.
Yeah, he's the ultimate competitor. He wants to be great. He works harder than anybody, I think, on this team. And I really look up to him and try to follow what he does in terms of a preparation standpoint, because he's kind of unlike anything I've seen so far at the college level in terms of how much he prepares, how much time he puts into the game, how much he cares about this team. So I have no worries about him. He's like I said earlier, he's the ultimate competitor. He loves his game. He loves his team. And so he's doing whatever he can to help us win. And behind the scenes, I mean, he's at the facilities 24/7. He meets up with me and, asks me about protection stuff, like what we should do during certain blitzes. He really cares about the entirety of the offense in terms of from protections to routes to knowing what everybody's doing. So I think that's been really impressive. That's something I look up to him for.
And I guess
Eric.
5 new starters on the offensive line, and you guys kind of play 6. Obviously, you now have half a season, well, a full season, but typically 6 games, half a season.
Yeah.
I guess where have you seen the most improvements? And I guess for you, as the leader of that group at center, how much more comfortable are you now than you were back in early November?
It's still, it's football is a game of growth and stuff. So I don't think you don't really ever stop growing as a unit. But I think we have a bunch of selfless guys on this offensive line unit. It was the same way every year I've been here. It's been full of selfless guys. Guys are doing whatever they can to help the team win. So I think that's been a big thing that's helped us be successful at this point. I think just communication wise, just getting comfortable with all 5 of us, even just through 6 games, being so much more comfortable now than the first game in terms of communication and, making sure everybody knows the entirety of the offense, the entirety of the defense that we're playing. So I think we've kind of played with a chip on our shoulder, I guess. And I think we've been more prepared with a chip on our shoulder more than anything because, we felt like people were saying like we were going to be a weakness this year. So I think we've just taken the preparation to the next level with meeting outside of football, about film stuff like blitzes and all that stuff. So I think we've kind of taken that and kind of ran with that in terms of elevating the level of preparation because we knew we had to be more prepared because we didn't have as much experience. So I think that's something that's really been fun to watch is how much this group has kind of gelled together in terms of preparation.
I guess with preparation in mind, Alex, then how much of a benefit is to have 2 weeks to prepare for Iowa State? I know Coach was saying that they are a team that requires a little bit more preparation just because they do a couple different things.
No, usually, I mean, with the bowl games, usually you get like 4 weeks, but we'll take 2 weeks. You want to have as much time as possible to prepare for a team like this, especially that just does so much defensively. And I know the defensive guys on our team enjoy it too because they have more time to prepare for their offense, which I haven't watched as much, but specifically for their Iowa State's defense, they run a lot of confusing stuff. Like I said, fronts that we haven't seen before. This year or even really last year, I think. So they're just really unique and they're coached really, really well. You can tell by the way they play and their techniques and stuff. They're a really well coached team. So I think it'll be a great challenge. But in terms of preparation, I think we've taken these 2 weeks and we've used them to the max in terms of preparing and watching film and studying them.
Do you have any other questions? Please again, raise your hand using the icon at the bottom of the page. Alex, if I could ask you, just with as crazy as this year has been, as challenging as it has been for everyone, what was the most valuable lesson that you've learned from all of this as a football player?
That's a good one. That's a good question. I think there's two valuable lessons. I think one of them is don't take anything for granted, because you never know when, you could this year. You never know when you could get shut down. If guys, if they weren't doing the right thing, or if you never know. So I think that was a big thing. You can have games taken away from you because other teams, and it's not that they're doing anything wrong. It's just that sometimes it's a tough thing to stop. So I think don't take anything for granted. And then I think the second part is just the protocol that we had set in place was really strict, but it was definitely worth it. All the sacrifices that you make, it ends up being worth it in the end because you get to play in games like this. So I think it was great. It was a great job by our team, just sticking with protocol, even though it was really strict, but sticking with it and just not kind of straying away off that path. So I think we saw that pay off big time for us.
And how does it feel for you and as a team to really kind of be a part of history, as this is the 50th anniversary of the Fiesta Bowl? Does that bring any more meaning to it?
Yeah, it's a huge honor. You dream of playing in games like this when you're a kid. So it's kind of crazy to actually be here. So it's a huge honor to be a part of the Fiesta Bowl, especially the 50th anniversary. It's just a huge honor. Even if it wasn't the 50th anniversary, it's a huge honor, but even more so now.
We'll just wait for some more questions, and then we'll also just wait in case anyone wants to join us from the other interview as well. We'll go back to Eric at 24/7 Sports.
I know we're jumping ahead to next year a little bit, but this group in theory could bring back its entirety for 2021. Obviously, I don't want to bypass Iowa State and look past that, but can you talk about the excitement level of what this group could do next year, just having that year of experience under the belt?
Yeah. I mean, we like you said, we don't like to look ahead, but there is a lot of youth on this team in terms of guys that are in their first and second year in the program. I don't know how many it is. I think it's guys in their first or second year. I think it's like somewhere around 60 or 70, maybe higher than that. But there's a lot of youth in this team. So I think just getting the experience from this year, even if it wasn't a full season, I'm grateful that we were able to play in some capacity. And 7 games, that's awesome. I would have taken 1 game, but I'm excited that we got to play 7. So that's perfect for us, and get experience. And even if it's not a full season, it's a weird season. You gotta come in and get tested every day and be distant. You don't really get to have team activities or anything. So it's it's an interesting year. But if you can make it through this, I'm a firm believer you could probably make it through anything. So there's been a tough season in terms of you got to follow protocol and all that stuff. And the sacrifices you have to make, but it's 100% worth it. And so that's exciting to see that everybody made those sacrifices. So I know this team is willing to do whatever it takes.
Alex, I wonder just the disparity in number of games you've had versus Iowa State. You guys have played 6, they've played 11. Is that an advantage for either team?
Is that a what?
An advantage for either team, for Iowa State or for you playing fewer?
Shoot. I mean, I think there's advantages and disadvantages to both. You know, they have more games under their belt this year. That's also more wear and tear, I guess. But we don't have as much experience because we've only played 6. But I don't really know if it's an advantage or disadvantage to any team. I think both teams just got to be ready to play.
Any additional questions? Alex, if you could use one word to describe this team, especially with what you've had to deal with this year, what would that be?
Resilient. Probably resilient, just because everything that's happened. You look at places around the country, and there's a lot of stuff happening in the world. A lot of bad stuff, not a lot of good stuff right now. So it's easy to kind of take that and get distracted. Not distracted, but kind of get your head wrapped around that. But you just look at how blessed we were this year to keep everybody healthy and play a game. That's what it is. It's a game. It's a fun game to play. So it's I think you got to look at it and just be grateful that we were able to do this. And there's a lot worse scenarios to be in around the world. So I think it's just you got to kind of look at it and be like, well, this pandemic, everything that's happened this year has affected everybody. But you just got to be grateful for what you've been able to have and been blessed with. So I think that's the perfect word, is resilient for this team, because there's so much happening. And, they kind of just stayed focused, and like I said, with protocol, just stayed on it and just hammered that through, and it's paid off big time.
Great. Well, Alex, we appreciate your time. Thank you for joining us this morning. Good luck on Saturday.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
And in just